Hello there.
Hello, lovely to see you.
Yeah, you too. Hey, Catherine.
Hi. How are you?
Good. Thank you.
Yeah. My meeting got canceled like 5 minutes before. I was like, oh, it's very convenient.
That was good timing. And we will actually talk about the thing you're interested in first. So we should be good.
Awesome.
Hey, Carolyn.
I have to ask, I haven't met Hippie yet, but like, where are you? It looks
I'm
like
in a cafe in Colorado.
it looks pretty cool.
I'm in a town called Estes Park. It's in the northern part up in the mountain. During the winter, it's a ski.
Looks pretty nice.
See if I can pull the camera around for a moment and turn off the video effect there.
Oh, now it makes more sense.
The view behind me is less interesting than the view this way.
Nice.
Yeah, definitely better than my view.
Yeah, I'm looking at a wall, so you win.
Same here.
I spent a year traveling in my rig, and my youngest, who's 7 now, was a month old. And so we changed locations every week. Not sure the rhythm goes go around, but we're here in Estes for a week and then down to Colorado.
Okay. Hey Josh, do you want me to drive this one? Do you want to do it? Do you
I
care?
don't know. What do you feel like?
I can drive this one because I think I've missed
Okay,
a
I'll
couple
take notes then.
So first thing on the agenda, we have the cloud native live stream and coming up with a plan. So I thought this was a podcast, just show up for it. Turns out it's a presentation or some format where we need to actually be organized because there's not going to be some random person just asking us questions. So we need to figure out what we're going to do because that is mid next week. Josh, did you have any thoughts on that?
No, I didn't. I didn't actually really understand the format previously. So the and I haven't. Where does this channel get broadcast anyway?
It's several places. Twitch, it's YouTube, LinkedIn. So it's live stream. It's one of those platforms where they kind of stream it on several things. Generally, it's like members get it. Like for instance, we would kind of do like a demo about something for Linkerd. So it's like it's not made for this type of kind of, it's made for live demoing and things like that. So the hosts generally just show up and say like, hey, like this is a CNCF thing, then say like the rules and then introduce the person and then it's like them. So they're just going to show up. And then it's introduces and then that's it, right? But they have been very flexible on format. So I think we can do whatever we feel it's best, right? But then it's like we have to have a plan. So it could be like panel kind of thing, have different people, but then we would have to come up with questions and kind of like each other or discussion points and then just chat to make it more interactive. Or it could be, which is probably more interesting than going through a deck, right? But I think it would still be good at the end, kind of put like some slides up with just to have the call to actions, like this is where you see this. We could also show like some of the things, right? Like going on, like demo some of the in some parts. So it could be a mix of everything. It's basically like whatever we want it to be, I think.
I'd love to hear a bit more. A lot of the time when I spend pairing with folks, they're like, this would be really good to do on a Twitch or some type of streaming thing when going through other people's projects. So love to hear more and kind of connect about that.
I don't know much about Twitch, but except that the CNCF puts it there. But and then it goes
Don't either. I've
away
never
and then
used
it's
any of them.
Yeah, it's if it's being rebroadcast, you're not actually doing the sort of full Twitch experience. So, because normally, like if stuff is like Twitch native, it's generally fairly interactive with the viewers. I mean, it doesn't have to be, but a lot of people use the that's why a lot of people use the platform. But if we're rebroadcasting, it's not that way.
it is stream. I think they use StreamYard or some other tool.
Yeah.
So it is. So you do get like questions from people, and I think you can even put them on. So it gets very interactive. It's just pulls it from different places, right? So if people are asking a question on LinkedIn, it'll be the people on YouTube won't be seeing those things. So sometimes it's weird because you see fewer people here, and but like I think the audience or the people managing, or at least the CNCF host, will see them all.
Mhm.
So it can be very interactive.
So I think we have a couple of options, and I think we need to kind of pick one and then figure out who's going to do what. One option is to run it kind of as a panel, have one of us ask the questions of the rest of us, and just do it kind of like we thought it was going to be done. We could have one of us share some things, and we could talk through some of the templates, some of the how-tos, some of the resources, and do it more as kind of a live demo, but of the outputs that we've had as a tag. We could do a presentation. We could do something similar to what we did with the keynote and Catherine and my session at KubeCon, where we, do a presentation and we talk about a bunch of ways that people can get involved in the tag. And we could also kind of combine those. Does anybody have a preference? I don't know, Carolyn, what do you think?
I gotta be honest, I was totally unprepared for what the format was gonna be. And I'm in the middle of like trying to release a V1 like right now. So I don't have time to prep anything, just being brutally honest. I thought it was just me show up and chat and answer questions. So we could get someone to play moderator for us or roll through a pre-established kind of deck or anything that would help me out a ton.
I think I actually like the mix, and for the panel, I would maybe not even do it as a panel, but like have more of this discussion. But it's like we have several questions, and then each person gets, so it's not one panelist, and it's like, okay, and first, let's say Dawn kind of does the introduction and kind of asks the first question to Josh, and then we kind of like discuss about that. And next, Carolyn, you ask a question, so it doesn't have to be one panelist, it could be more dynamic and less formal then. And then I do think it's valuable at some point to kind of, like, we did like this interaction and say, well, we've chatted a lot about this, but let's show people what we're actually talking about. And then just showcase the different things live. Because then it's not like just chatting or not just showing, it's a little bit interactive chatting, and then one person presenting, and then people can chime in again and then kind of say like, oh yeah, I think this was really great, or like I know who we used to, like, make it really kind of conversational. But like I like the part of showing it too, because if it's just chatting like the podcast, I think people take away less. It's interesting, but they're not actually seeing it.
What would we be showing exactly?
The templates and where to find it, kind of, it doesn't have to be like the whole, it could be just at the end, kind of a little bit like, here's the website, here's how you find it, here are all the templates, and then have like just showcase one template, kind of to give a sense of what people can find where, instead of a deep into one thing.
I'm just trying to think about who is going to watch this. And like, it feels like it's not the type of content that hangs around for very long. Am I right about that? It's more like timely.
It's going to be on YouTube, and it's another resource that we can tweet out, regularly. you know. And so it's gonna be on a page like on the community, CNCF community groups. It's gonna be, it looks pretty nice because it's very branded, and then you have a little thing and you have a little speaker. So there's a nice page. It could also be, or it should actually also be on the actual website. So I think that, like, it's up to us then to kind of use it, like reuse it. And
Because I feel like we've done
and
a
again,
bunch.
Mhm.
No, go.
It doesn't have to be, I think they have like dedicated like 50 minutes or so. It doesn't have to be, they say like it can be 30 minutes or so. So it doesn't have, we don't have to fill, like shorter is better. It's like if you don't have more to say, you know, we shouldn't stretch it endlessly because then it's going to be boring.
Yeah. I feel like at the moment, our group has a lot of new ways for people to participate with the tag. And if I had to say the one thing that our tag needs right now is more people who have time to move things forward. I'd love to focus on making people aware of mentoring working group, inclusive initiative, community infrastructure, and things like that, as opposed to going over stuff we've done like 6 times already, like the templates, I guess would be my vote.
What do you think, Josh?
So like a round table of okay, here's what's going on right now and where you can participate, etc. Yeah. Okay. I was going to suggest, I was going to offer another alternative, but I think I like Carolyn's option better. Because the one thing I was thinking of is if the channel is normally used for demos, one of the things we could do is actually set up a dummy CNCF project. Particularly, I was thinking of going from an earlier idea that we decided not to use for KubeCon, which was what's required for a sandbox project. And to maybe go through that. But I'm kind of thinking that a roundtable of, you know, here's what's going on right now, you know, here's the opportunities to participate, etc. You know, here's where we need people, here's all of the different things. Would actually be better.
Yeah, I like that idea too. And I think we'll need to do a little prep. Maybe we can have a shared document where we list kind of the key points we want to make and who's going to make those points and how we're gonna get there. So kind of a flow for it. But I do like the idea of recruiting people in to participate. And we can also mention that, you know, maintainers are welcome to drop in. These are all the things we do. You know, maybe we could include a slide or two somewhere, either at the end or at the beginning, with all of the links and stuff. So like the slide we used at KubeCon, with all of the ways to reach us, because that might be useful to have as a slide. But yeah, I kind of like the idea of talking about where we need help and how people can get involved.
I'm also thinking it would be great. So Cube Weekly is going out tomorrow. So sometimes if there's a tweet or something, they will embed it, or it would be great. Right now, it all says like, watch the interactive live stream to learn how the tech can help your project be successful, right? It doesn't say a lot about what it is. So it'd be cool to have a little bit more information, maybe in the tweet or something, so that because that goes out. Because I think the only challenge that we have is like, these things are not necessarily for maintainers, right? And that's always the challenge. Like, so we know maintainers is a very small, tiny group of the audience that the CNCF reaches and so on. So we have to blast it out really, really broadly for that tiny group to actually to reach that tiny group. So I think like it would be great to get something in Cube Weekly. And I know it's very last minute because it's tomorrow. But maybe a tweet like summarizing like whatever, like this is what we're going to do. It's like looking forward to blah, 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 and then just tweet it out and ask the CNCF to retweet it, but then also to add it.
Do we think we can get it added to Cube Weekly? Do you not think they have that content all staged up and ready to go since it goes out tomorrow? I don't know how they work.
I've had a tweet added last minute. They kind of say, well, we'll have to see, but
Yeah.
There's no guarantee I can actually reach out right now and say like, hey, we want to do this. can we still include it? Can you save us a spot?
I was gonna say, speaking of CNCF things that are constantly looking for help. Cube Weekly. The because basically Cube Weekly was originally being written by the CNCF. It was actually originally being maintained by the Kubematic folks. And they lost interest in it, and it got taken over by CNCF marketing, but they don't really have enough people.
Hmm.
And Chris Short was volunteering to write it for a while, but then he got tired of it. I don't even know who's doing it now.
Weekly newsletters are hard.
Yes.
So
The
it's
only reason why mine gets out is that Noah and I have a system, and we can get it done
Nice.
in an hour and a half or less.
so it's the end of my day. Catherine, do you have time to reach out to them and to do the tweet that they can retweet?
I was just writing the email to them just to have that spot. But like the actual tweet, probably would be better if Carolyn or Josh could
Mhm.
do that with a.
Okay, so are we going with the round table, how you can participate concept?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd like to.
It's good.
Okay.
Okay, so Josh is going to do the tweet. Awesome. And then we can all retweet it.
Where I don't know that I actually have the public link and login information for the audience. Like I have my one for being a presenter, but I don't know how people sign up to watch it.
Oh, it's linked at the top here of the agenda notes. I put the link,
Okay.
Oh.
the Cloud Native live stream links to the
Okay.
page.
Yep.
Yeah, which is has the RSVP on it.
Mhm. Okay.
Okay. Anything else?
And so then let's start right now by creating a document,
Yeah, perfect.
which I need to do under a non-Red Hat account.
Okay, so Josh is going to create the document. We can use that to kind of put together the framework for doing it.
Yep.
Okay.
Round table, right?
Yeah.
A doc for the round
Just-
table. Okay.
Yeah. So just a doc to highlight the key points and who's going to make them, and do it in a logical order. Because if we don't have that, we'll be all over the place. I mean, any of us could talk for 30 minutes about the tag, but if we're not organized, I think we can make the most sense if we organize ourselves. Not to project on either of you, but I'll be all over the place if we don't have a doc. Just saying.
Yeah.
No, same.
Yeah, no, and we're gonna need to divide some things up, right? Because
Yeah.
like I'll want to
Yeah.
actually ask for help with maintainer circle, which means that like say Dawn should actually do governance stuff. Just because I don't think we'll actually get Paris to show up for this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we just need to come up with a list of topics and divide and conquer. I think
okay.
it doesn't need to be detailed, just enough to get us organized so that we
Yeah.
know.
Well, the other thing is for everybody to think of, see if you can think of something that you could potentially show off or screen share for the topic rather than just talking.
Something to have on the
Sure,
screen.
Community infra, one of our contractors is working on the owner's file so that we can use Blunderbuss and stuff without Prowl. And we're really close to a functioning prototype. I'd say he's out this week, but it'll be in the next week or two. When is the time frame for this thing? Because I'd love to show that. And so
Wednesday.
there's a long list of other. No, it's not gonna. I could.
Yeah,
talk about it.
we're last minute
Yeah,
here.
that's cool.
Hey, Hippie, I have a quick question about that. Is that part of
Absolutely.
the Prowl GitHub action, or is this a new effort?
It's so it's Rob Kilty, and he's got a repo working on for Prowl GitHub Action. that it's only me and him I'm aware of right now. Is there some other initiative called Proud GitHub Action?
Yeah, there's a long-standing existing one.
Wow. Well, let's connect.
All right, or
On
maybe
that
I
one.
don't know the name of the person I've been talking to. It's by John McBride,
I do not familiar with it.
2 years old. So I've been contributing to that this year to add support for owner's file.
Wow. This thing we
So,
keep talking about with the community
should-
info,
we should
do it
think.
together.
Okay,
This is-
so we're gonna.
This is why you needed a meeting of this team.
Yeah,
Wait, we got one coming. And I've been very unavailable, so it's not a lot of that falls on me.
Yeah. Speaking of which,
coming
are
around.
you back home, AP?
Home is where the family is, and
Okay.
I think part of it being stuck in New Zealand for 4 years, our family is much more at peace when we're on the go. And some of my most productive years have been in the rig. I was just about to paste pictures from last year or 2015. There's us in the rig in 2015, in various places. So if you want me to come see you, just tell me where you are and we'll migrate that way in the States.
Yeah, it's a long drive to the UK.
Fair.
Yeah, and I'm
Um,
gonna say in a pretty long drive to Portland from Texas.
That's right. Well, we're currently in Colorado, and we are going to go. I think that in time, once it gets cooler, we'll head west and come up the coast from LA and go all the way up into Washington as well. So we'll see a good number of people live, and then eventually head east and come down the East Coast.
Okay, so Carolyn and Hippie are gonna talk about GitHub Actions, Proud GitHub Actions, and compare notes and hopefully work together on the same one. Okay, so next thing on the agenda, template stock. Can we merge the sub projects and what's the main branch status? I'm not sure who added this, whether it was Carolyn or Josh.
Yeah, that was me. So template stocks, and this is actually more of a question for Carolyn, which was I had to halt merging the documentation for the sub projects template
yeah,
because of conflicts between the draft and main branches.
yeah. I'm looking at your PR right now and I don't see any conflicts. I'm looking at the diff and it doesn't look like it's introducing any weird stuff. It's just your one commit. So I think you're fine now.
Oh, okay.
Please-
Did I leave the PR up? I didn't remember whether I left it up or took it down.
Number 27 in the project template repo looks like. So I'm looking at.
Oh, yeah. No. But this is the one in tag contributor strategy is the problem.
That was already merged or, oh, you closed it. You closed that
I
one.
closed it.
You're right. Yeah.
I
okay.
closed it because it was dragging in like, 70 other commits.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
say
so I
just
should be
like-
able to go ahead and reopen that then.
Just, you're probably gonna have to like update or rebase or something, but yeah.
That's fine. Okay, so merge that in, and then this is now governance working group. We've segued over into your governance working group stuff. So the question is, we have 2 other templates to document. You see the sort of format. Well, you'll see I kind of created a section format for the documentation based on the sub projects. Of course, I'm going to immediately go back to this and edit it because we have a brand new CNCF project that is adopting the sub projects template and have pointed out some problems. The biggest one of which being that the names we use in the sub projects template do not match the names we use in the contributor ladder template. So, which is because they came from different places, but it's still something we should fix. Speaking of which, since we have Carolyn on here, what's the progress on the contributor growth side of documenting the contributor ladder template?
To be honest, it's not going to keep going until I get my 1.0 a quarter.
Okay.
When you don't see me, I'm just stressing about
Okay.
that constantly.
Okay. Okay. So I'll go ahead and merge that and we'll sort of work on that, and you can see whether or not my sort of sectioning of it is going to make sense for the other template documentation.
Yeah, I can look at that.
Um, because it includes sections called things like you would use this template if which is more of a thing with the governance templates where they're alternatives to each other,
Mhm.
as opposed to a lot of the other templates where they're not, it's not a choice. So
So as for dividing up the rest, I could take either the maintainer template or the steering committee one. I don't know if you have a preference. Maybe start with the maintainer one because that's more straightforward.
okay, do you think you want to take the maintainer one, and in the unlikely event that I get time, because right now I've switched back to writing documentation for Kubernetes elections, because we have a new slate of election officers that does not include me personally,
Right.
which means the backlog of undocumented things has suddenly become critical. That said, that'll probably relate to the steering committee documentation, because we'll have to say, hey, if you really want to do full steering committee documentation, this is what election documentation, this is what it looks like. Oh, and by the way, one of the things that that was commentary on the subprojects documentation that has come up with this new project is the hard part of the subprojects template is deciding who your subprojects are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because everybody thinks that they know until they start discussing it with the other maintainers of the project. And then
Yep.
they're like, no, I was thinking that was a subproject. Oh, I was thinking that was just a component of this other subproject.
Yeah, that was starting to become clear in the discussion in the last meeting.
Yeah.
For sure.
So yeah, it's a case of everybody thinks they know what the subprojects are, but it's only because they haven't discussed it with the other people in the project.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So the other thing is, I don't know if you saw this discussion in the TOC about adding some detail to the graduation requirements, of saying that there needs to be some documentation of how maintainer succession happens. The reason why this honestly came up is that one of the critical problems that we had with etcd is that there legitimately was none. It was a, hey, these are the people who are the maintainers, and that's it. And the problem with that is you ended up with a list of like what looked like 8 maintainers for the project, whereas the real truth was 7 of those people had stopped contributing a year and a half ago. But since there was no, this is when a maintainer gets removed in any of their documentation, nobody ever got removed.
Are they adding this to just the graduated level?
Just
or
the
they?
graduated right now, because the
Okay.
graduated is the only one that has any requirements around maintainer composition, etc.
Yeah, I mean, the other ones have requirements on having a list.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yep.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, doesn't incubating want more diversity, or is it only at graduated that we care?
Only graduated.
Okay.
Incubating sort of implies that you should have it, but it's not a requirement.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
And
the thing
this is separate from the stuff that Paris has been working on, which is like the basically the contributor strategy stuff.
yeah,
Have
I
we-
would say complementary.
I was gonna say it seems related, and we should probably make sure that the two are at least aligned.
Yeah. I would say if we got the full contributor strategy requirement done, it would subsume this requirement, right? Because maintainers are just a special case of contributor.
Yep.
But
Yeah, but-
getting the full contributor requirement done, contributor strategy requirement done, is a much more complicated affair.
Mhm.
Whereas this was just adding 2 lines in order to provide a clarification for something that has already been a demonstrable problem with 2 projects. Yeah, and for anybody who hasn't been part of that discussion on Slack, etc., Paris came with the idea and this draft of adding a contributor strategy requirement for graduation. It's an idea that we generally support, but the rest of us are like, okay, if we're going to require this of projects, we need to have a bunch of documentation on how they should actually fulfill the requirement. We
Do
don't
we-
want to give projects another major requirement without any information on how to accomplish it.
Do we have people actively working on building out that content, or are people doing this
No.
100% async on that doc, or it feels a little stalled out?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Maybe I feel like we should at least be making sure that we're checking up on it during the contributor strategy meetings, and I'll just try to
Yeah.
sync with Paris offline to make sure we're in touch on this.
And our tag contributor strategy, the main meeting's next week. So that's a good time to check in on it.
Yeah. Look, I don't know if you've seen, she's posted the draft in Slack. I'll link it from the notes as soon as I find it again. But what she has right now is really more of a checklist, and it's less of something that could actually be phrased as a requirement.
Yeah, I've got it from the
and-
minutes
yeah.
from the last meeting. I'll drop it into the notes.
Yeah, and it requires us at a minimum to have an advisory document that says, this is how you create a contributor strategy. Ideally, we should honestly have a template as well.
Okay, anything else on that maintainer succession or the contributor strategy stuff? Okay. Next thing, and now we're down to kind of the template items on the agenda, the weekly tweet. So we covered that earlier. Josh is doing the tweet for the live stream. Do we have any other agenda items that we should have added that we haven't, that anyone needs to talk about?
With regards to the templates and the new project stuff, part of our journey with Paired, I think, is contributing to the CNCF and going towards Sandbox for that. And I wonder if this is a good opportunity to use the team to help get those templates in line to contribute in that way. I know that Caleb and Zach, we're having a meeting this afternoon to kind of structure what are our next steps in walking through what are the requirements and how do we go through that process. Maybe blogging or writing or particularly for the templates, getting it where being a user of those templates, we can help get them up.
I can be the go-between for our team.
Brianna, I can't quite.
You're really quiet.
All right, let me try and turn up my microphone. Can you
Oh,
hear me
much
now?
better, much better.
Better. All right. Okay. From our team, if somebody, Josh or Dawn, if you guide, or Carolyn, if you guide me through how the sandbox process work, I can collect the data and you basically teach me how to do the sandboxing of the project, and in that way spread the knowledge. And I'll also share that then within our team.
Hey, if we do that,
have
let's
some
make sure to
docs for
record
that.
it or write it down. A lot of people want
Absolutely.
that content.
Yeah.
I think Josh has gone through this most recently.
Yeah, but the problem is that I often have a lot of really complicated cases.
Oh,
Because like Conveyor was definitely complicated.
yeah.
And which makes it hard to use it as an example. Because particularly actually one of the things that I have not had is a project that didn't already have pre-existing community documentation that needed to be adapted rather than starting from scratch.
I think we're going to be in a pretty good spot here because we have lots of cultural things and processes and ways that we work that we're just trying to make it easy for the community to hit a URL, get a cluster, and work in cluster together using VS Code.
Yeah.
And so the productization and the community side of that is something that hopefully fits in line with other projects. It should. I'm hoping the complexity is not there for.
You're By the way, you're aware that GitHub is now doing a very similar thing.
We've looked at GitPod, and we also looked at Pod, what's it called, CodeSpaces. It doesn't have a cluster underneath it just yet, and I think that's part of the thing, is being able to kind of be cloud native in that way, and being able to have multiple people working in the same code and cluster environment. Because onboarding people to Kubernetes when you don't have a quick, easy way to bring up an ingress for each person in the class and let them play with stuff.
Okay. So you're going to propose this as an actual named CNCF project then?
Yeah, absolutely. We went through, I think Caleb talked to Katie Kamanji while he was in Europe, and we started getting the details going through the sandboxing process. And that's where this meeting for us this afternoon,
Okay.
we're going to start lining that up as a proper process, both to help with mentoring. And if it's something we need to back off on and just focus on CodeSpaces, I haven't seen the flow of mentoring people through contributing quickly using CodeSpaces yet. And our flows are like, here's how this project works together. It's a quick onboarding way when you pair with one other person, and then the next day they're able to commit and push. That's my heart. Not to derail it, but the thing was, how can we help with the templates in this process? And if working, we got it. There's the flow for getting started, but how is the best way for us to work with either Josh or someone to contribute to the templates?
Yeah, no, and it sounds right. What I'm really interested in is the potential to contribute to the documentation, because we don't really have examples in the documentation. And this would provide us with a chance, would actually supply some examples.
Absolutely.
And Jonathan, if we can work together and you coach me through the whole thing and we record our discussions and we turn that then into a doc when we're done and say, this is an example of how this thing got to where it is.
Right.
Does that sound what you have in mind?
Yeah, it sounds good.
Thanks, Josh.
So we should just figure out when we're going to walk through it. Well, we do a little at a time, right? We don't do it all at once.
Good. I would appreciate that. Thanks.
Okay, anything else we need to talk about? Do we want to do the open issue and PR review? Is there stuff we need to talk about there?
Let's see.
The only thing that's newer than May in the issues section is to do on the leadership selection doc. Should
Yeah.
link to the templates. And we have 2 open pull requests. One's from June around the redesign, so I assume that that's part of the ongoing work.
Yeah, it's not ready to look at yet.
And then the annual review template. Carolyn, that one's one you opened.
Yeah, I just needed an approval on it.
Okay, sorry, I actually have an emergency, so I'm going to have to drop.
Okay, no worries.
Right.
Thanks, Josh. Oh yeah, so I made a bunch of comments and you addressed all of those, so we can probably I just need to give it a /approve. I'm trying to remember what our workflow is for this.
I think you need to actually approve it using GitHub. So
Okay.
you click on files changed.
Yep.
And then
Yeah.
get the green button going. Yeah.
I was gonna remember what the
It's too-
workflow was. So a lot of the others, we just use /approve.
I haven't set
It's
that
too
up
bad
yet
we
on this
don't have a
repo.
proud GitHub interaction.
Yeah, I have a
Important enough
task
that a
on
lot
my
of people
plate.
are thinking about it.
I have a task to configure that on this repo and just it's been really busy this summer.
Oh. So the branch is out of date with the base branch.
I'll get it. Don't worry.
Okay. So that one looks good. So I think those were the only PRs we needed to look at. And I don't think there's anything in the issues that we need to talk about. So if there's nothing else, I think we're probably finished.
Great.
Thanks, Carolyn, for your work on the Prow GitHub action area. My apologies for myself and for Rob.
No,
for
no,
digging
no.
into that without.
I think we really
What
need
are those
to
things?
we need to compare.
Mhm.
See if we
Yeah.
can get benefits from both of them. Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. We'll do async. I've already messaged between you and me and Rob, and we'll move forward from there. I look forward to learning from each other
Okay,
and bringing
great.
something
Yeah.
forward to the community.
Sounds good. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Cheers.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Carol.
Bye.